Namaskar. Welcome to Conversations with Rakesh. Here's today's question. Rakesh, why do you quote movies in all your lectures? Any good recommendations for movies that talk about leadership? What a lovely question, my favorite type of question. I'll tell you why I connect movies in my talks and lectures. The first obvious answer is it's a lot of fun, it's a story. And stories are the gentlest way to take us out of our mundane lives into a life which is full of other things to enjoy, observe, and learn from. But the other reason is that movie making has a very important concept of communication, behavior, personalities. If you look at any movie or any story, there is always a hero which is full of virtues, good things, everything about good things is the hero. And the exact opposite, the anti hero, the villain. And the reason that we enjoy movies a lot and stories a lot is always this fight between good and evil. And all of us, I hope, are aspiring to become the hero or the good person. But the movie writers, the directors, the actors do a fabulous job to bring out these characters, and I observe that when I look at a movie, let's say even a simple movie like Munna Bhai, to take a movie like a Tapori, a Gunda, but with values, and put him in a hospital, which is the epitome of science and knowledge, is mind blowing. And how does that person behave? How does the surrounding behaves? That is to me a great thing that I learned. That what can I learn from Munna Bhai? What can I learn from J Asthana, J. Asthana? So my request to all of you is that next time when you watch a movie, observe the characters, because those characters in some ways are some sort of images of us, flawed, imperfect, but all of us are trying our best to become perfect, and you learn a lot from imbibing the qualities of the good characters, not the bad characters. And the bad characters can also help you realize what not to do. So on that note, let me tell you five good movies that can tell you about leadership. And again, you'll have to choose a lot of time to see it. My selection is based on few criteria. That one, these are my personal choices. Two, they are inspired by true events. And three, they are hardcore dramas with a lot of dialogues, because I'm a communication person. So for me, dialogues are very important, and I analyze them. And to me, that is the reason these five movies are a little different, inspired by true events, and you learn a lot about leaders from them. So let me give it to you one by one. The first, the first is actually a series, one of the best series I have seen. It came on a channel called Epic, and now I think it's available on some of the OTTs. It's called Dharam Kshetra. Dharam Kshetra is about what happened after Mahabharat. So Mahabharat is done. All these heroes are now in the court, and they have been accused of a wrongdoing. And the each episode is some character from Mahabharata, Bhim, Arjun, Krishna, Draupadi, Gandhari, and they are put in the center of the court, Chitragupt's court. And a statement is read out that you've been accused of this. You are favorite, you have this person as your favorite, you're flawed in your judgment, you're partial, and then there is a debate on that. So both sides, the accuser and accused, defend themselves. To me, there cannot be any better literature on leadership than that entire series of epic Dharam Kshetra. And it talks about how flawed all of us are, and all of us are trying our best to do our job, and still there are gaps. So if you want to really learn how complex leadership is, start with Dharam Kshetra, absorb the entire episodes fully, and take notes. You'll realize that nothing is perfect, but from each character you'll pick out good and bad, and then you see what works for you. So Dharam Kshetra, suggestion number one. Suggestion number two, this movie came in, I think, 2016. Um, Very well made movie, called Post. It's a true story about Washington Post, the newspaper run by a family. The patriarch of the family is dead. The next in line commits suicide, and now the wife, that Graham family, and the role is played by Meryl Streep, is amazing. She was nominated for Best Actor and did a fantastic job. And Tom Hanks is the editor of that magazine or the paper, Washington Post. I think Ben Bradley or something. And this is the delicate story of not the journalists, but the challenge Meryl Streep faces to run that particular establishment. First of all, this is 1970s. The entire board is full of men. They treat her like a housewife and incompetent. And to be a only woman in a room full of men, and arrogant men, who don't give respect to women, who don't realize that she's now the next in line. But she still pulls through a brilliant job, and the story is it's inspired by true events. It's about the role America played in the Vietnam War, actually the terrible role they played in the Vietnam War, and how they justified it. And there was enough proof that it was completely nonsensical, it was a waste of time, waste of money, millions of people died for no reason. And the complexity comes that the role played by the Graham family, Meryl Streep, is connected to all those politicians because they are the who's who of America. So imagine that you are running a newspaper. That newspaper has got material that proves that all the politicians who are your friends have done something stupid. And you have to now decide whether to publish the story or not. If you were a woman CEO at that time, what would you do? And I think Meryl Streep does a phenomenal job in explaining and giving that answer, which I think is a leadership lesson that all of us should learn. So please watch Post, and please realize that many of us who feel that our lives are tough, put yourself in Meryl Streep's shoes in 1971 and ask yourself, what would you do? And how would you take that decision? And that's a leadership lesson right there. So second recommendation, Post. The third, very nice movie. You all must have heard about it or at least seen it. In 2009, a plane had a bird hit and it landed on the Hudson River. And there was a movie made on it. I think it's Sully, Miracle on the Hudson River. And there's a book written by the pilot, Sullenberger. And that's why his short name is Sully, played by Tom Hanks. Now, this movie is brilliant leadership lesson in two ways. One, that moment of crisis when the bird hits, the engines are dead, you are facing death. But Sully is a veteran pilot of about 40 years. This is the moment he's been trained for. Very calm, quickly makes a split-second decision, realizes that he can't make it to any of the airports close by, so he lands the plane on a Hudson River. Everybody survives. Not a single accident, not a single death. And he lived to tell the tale. And there are a lot of researches done on how split-second decisions are very important for leaders. Sully makes it. But the movie is not good only because of that. The movie is good because after this, Sully and his co-pilot are called and they are supposed to justify that why did you take that decision? You could have killed 155 people. And they argue that their decision was wrong, but they sit through the proceedings, give their defense, and finally prove that their decision was the best. Now, how many of us go through that? When you're a leader and a CEO, and when you're pulled in some other court and asked to justify, how arrogant we become. But Sully and his co-pilot, they respond, they go through the process, they respect it because they know that future pilots may be impacted because of their decisions. So they sit through and support and are finally proven that their decisions was nice. And that's the sign of leadership, that you respect the system in which you operate. And this movie really talks about it. When I look at many of our CEOs today who disrespect the system in which they operate and do all kinds of mistakes, I think this movie should serve as a lesson to all of us to be a little bit respectful of the system. We should change the system. Nobody's questioning it. But there is something called respecting the system and disagreeing with the system and also doing your work. And Sully is a great example of that. So the third recommendation, Sully. The fourth recommendation, this is a 1962 classic based on a book by Harper Lee called To Kill a Mockingbird. The book won a prize, the movie won Oscars, and this was Gregory Peck at his finest. The story is about a lawyer called Atticus Finch, and the book is about the life of his daughter, Scott, how she sees the world. And she sees her father fighting a case for a black American African. In those days, they were called something else. Nowadays, it's a racist slur. So this movie is set in that time, that there is a African American who has been put behind jail because of a crime against a white lady in the heart of racist America. And how this lawyer, Atticus Finch, is a good father at home, but is also a good lawyer. And he fights the battle to protect this accused. And he knows that this accused, the African American, has not done anything wrong. And this is that racist problem of that city and the place they are in. The people just want to put this poor guy and lynch him. So he protects him. And the movie looks at Scott's view of the courtroom drama, the social issues of America at that time. And it's a brilliant, brilliant movie. And also a brilliant book. But the leadership lesson of this movie is that, hey, it's not going to be easy if you're going to fight a battle, if you believe in. And Atticus Finch believes that this is not the right thing to do. So he fights that battle. There are times his house is attacked, his children are attacked, but he doesn't give up. He sticks and wins that court battle. And the last one, my all-time favorite, which I have probably mentioned many times, is a movie called Invictus, the true story of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, 1993 or 1995, that time. How Mandela inspires a country to come together using rugby, a sport. Matt Damon plays the role of this captain of the team, South African team, and how the social culture and environment, he creates this vision to bring people together, the Rainbow Nation. And he realizes that if there is one thing that can bring us together, it's not anything else. It's sport, which is the sport that everybody enjoys, like cricket in India. It's a religion. Same thing happens there. So Mandela brings the people together. It is such a feel-good movie. But the leadership lesson there is, have a strong vision, be forgiving, and see it through. And that's what this movie teaches as leadership lesson. So let me summarize the 5 movies for you. The first one I mentioned is Dharamkshetra, which is available on OTT platform. Series of episodes on what is the right thing to do for a leader. The second is Post, brilliantly played by Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. The third is Sully, the story of the captain who lands a plane, takes a split-second decision and survives to tell the tale. The fourth is To Kill a Mockingbird, Gregory Peck. And the fifth is Invictus, Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon. And these movies are just a snapshot of how the characters can inspire you to be a better version of yourself. Do share more movies which inspire you and tell you how to be a better version of yourself in the comments. And on that note, stay safe.